What's up, everybody? It's Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to the Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow @Paceroos on Twitter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Australian NBA podcast with a bias towards the Indiana Pacers, coming to you post All-Star break. And we've got a big show today. We've got to talk about the All-Star weekend. We've got a lot to talk through there. The game itself, the dunk contest, some thoughts from all of us. And then we'll get to a mailbag. We've had some really good questions come in from all around Twitter. So thank you so much for everyone that sent through questions. We'll do our best to get through as many as we can in this episode. But for now, we'll kick it off with All-Star weekend. It was a victory to Team LeBron over Team Giannis. It was an interesting scoring way of scoring the game, with the first three quarters scored in isolation, and then the Elam finish that added 24 points to the total in the fourth quarter. And Justin, we're all pretty big fans of the way that the game went down and the rules. So I think it was just a rousing success for the NBA.
Oh, I've never witnessed a better All-Star game in my life. When they announced the rules, I was a bit skeptical on it. Obviously, it was good though, dedicating it to Kobe Bryant and his daughter. But I thought it may have been a bit gimmicky, like the scores resetting at the end of the quarter. But kudos to Adam Silver. I know the three other major sporting leagues in America have all reached out saying we want Adam Silver to run our league, because other sporting fans of the NFL, MLB, and NHL are so jealous after watching that All-Star game. What a performance it was! Like, seeing that last quarter, I know it sounds silly. That felt like an NBA Finals game. Like, players were going at it. Kyle Lowry was drawing charges. There was a coach's challenge. It was just amazing to see.
Alex, it was a game where we saw, obviously, the first three quarters were very reminiscent of All-Star games past, in that it was very free-flowing. But that fourth quarter, just everyone turned it on, didn't they? Yeah, it was a flip of the switch. And just on giving shout out to Chris Paul and the Players Association, because I know they had a massive say in that. I'm actually pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but Chris Paul might have actually come up with that idea, with the Elam idea for the fourth quarter. But overall, it was just absolutely insane. Like you said, honestly, after the first quarter, I was like, oh no, here we go again. You know, it's the same old thing after every year. But no, that fourth quarter was absolutely absurd. You know, players were trying their hardest, and they were complaining about calls, which I don't think you'll ever see in an All-Star game before this one. So, yeah, I definitely think they should keep it. But I don't know about you guys. I think they shouldn't end on free throws. I know Joel Embiid talked about it after the game. If they could change one thing, I think that not ending it on free throws would be the only thing I would change. Yeah, look, I think I tend to disagree, because free throws are part of the game. I think fouls are part of the game. In an All-Star game, maybe not, but I got a bit of a controversial take. I like the Elam finish so much that I think it should be adopted, not by the NBA for regular season or playoffs, but by FIBA. I think that particular way of going about it could really spice up the Olympic basketball and FIBA World Cup and qualifiers, you know, cups around the world. I think adopting that sort of a finish would just take the game to the next level internationally. I think it'd always have to end on a made basket, whether it be a free throw or otherwise. And I think the future of the Elam finish is really strong. I'd love to see it adopted by other leagues like the international competition, just to differentiate it a little bit. I was just a massive fan of the fact that there was a target score, and there was always some suspense there of, you know, you have to reach that score. You can't just coast for the last quarter. If you're up by 20, you have to score more points. You have to keep going on offense. So that's my hot take, Justin. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. You know, I'm always up for, you know, something different. And like I said, before the All-Star match, I was a bit skeptical on it, and I got proven wrong. I thought it was amazing. So implementing that internationally could be a good thing. And Alex, I somewhat do agree on the free throw thing, but then there's another sense that, you know what, if there's a game winner, you can just be punching people in the face and they get no free throws.
Well, so, you know what I heard? Somebody said on Twitter that free throws should deduct a point in the fourth quarter from the other team. So if you make a free throw, it's -1 for the other team.
That's a good call.
I don't mind that at all.
I thought that was good.
I like that. That's great hearing what fans come up with. I think that'd be awesome. But let's hope. I'm sure for the All Stars moving forward, they're gonna keep that format moving forward. I think Adam Silver would be silly to go back to the way it was. That was just it was so incredible. I'm still amazed at it. I actually rewatched the fourth quarter. I watched it with a few friends, and everyone was going nuts watching it. It was one of the most unique sporting games I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think it was a rousing success. The players clearly were trying hard for their charities, but also for their own, personal accomplishments and to honor Kobe Bryant and his memory. He always, tried super hard in All-Star games, won 4 All-Star MVPs himself. So it was great to see an All-Star game that was competitive. I think that's what we all want from the All-Star game. We want the best players out there playing as competitively as they can. I did think there were a lot of fouls, so I like the idea of deducting points for fouls in some form or fashion. I think in an exhibition game like that could really take off because you want to avoid that as much as possible. Yeah. But yeah, I loved the concept. I loved the game. Saturday night was a mixed success, I thought. I thought the 3-point contest was a bit of a fizzer. The skills challenge, it was great to see Domas go well in the skills challenge and beat out Jason Tatum. But I think the headline act is the dunk contest. And I don't know about you, Alex, but Aaron Gordon got robbed for me.
Absolutely robbed. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I feel, as a fan, I feel robbed because we might never see Aaron Gordon again in the dunk contest. I know he said post the dunk contest that he said he was never going to do it again because he's arguably been robbed twice. And I'm not here to hate on Derek Jones Jr. What he was doing was incredible as well. But when you dunk over like someone about 7'6" or something, I think you deserve to win the dunk contest. So he was doing some absurd things that I've just never seen before. That one he did off the side of the backboard where he 360 windmilled it with one hand. That might have been the best dunk I've ever witnessed. So
it was the most beautiful dunk I've ever seen, I would say. It was just
insane.
Fluid. It was unbelievable. Justin, do you think Aaron Gordon got robbed or are you riding with Derek Jones Jr.?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a different take. I actually think if you watch the whole dunk contest in total, I think Derek Jones Jr. had better dunks overall. But yeah, there is a part of me, they said what Aaron Gordon got, his first 5 or 6 dunks were 50s. So, Aaron Gordon was on the court saying it's over. If my first 5 or 6 dunks are 50s, it's over. But yeah, I think Derek Jones Jr., the one where he threw it off the backboard, jumped over someone through the leg and crammed it. That was just incredible. There's two ways I look at it, right? Like the Dwight Howard's first dunk of the night, I think he got a 48, and then you're giving Aaron Gordon a 47 on the last dunk, jumping over 7'5" man. That's laughable to me. But yeah, it's a tough one. I would have wanted it to be a draw because I think the two guys were just going back and forth. It was kind of like Gordon and Levine a few years ago. But yeah, in total, Gordon, out of the 2 dunk contests, he definitely deserves 1 trophy. So it is a bit disappointing for him. But yeah, what an atmosphere. I remember watching the dunk contest a few years ago. It was so dull and it was boring. But they have brought the life back to it. And yeah, I was so impressed. I was watching it just amazed. I think people expect unrealistic things with the dunk contest. They expect these people to jump from half court and dunk it. You watch that Taco Fall dunk and you just go, oh, yeah, whatever. But it's like, no, if you're actually standing on the court trying to jump over that man, good luck.
You would have more appreciation, I think, for what sort of feat that was. It was look, I think it's pretty easy to fix for me. I think it's clear. You've got 5 judges. You have the final. You have 1 dunk versus 1 dunk. And instead of scoring, the judges just pick their favorite dunk. And it's best of 3. And ultimately, you just pick, one person dunks, the other person dunks. You choose your favorite out of the 2 dunks. They get a point, and they move forward, and it moves forward from there. I think, to be honest, it seems pretty like 50s just seem arbitrary to me. Every dunk now that impresses us gets a 50 because there is no other way of going about it. But if you put Derek Jones Jr.'s last dunk against Aaron Gordon's last dunk and said to the judges, you have to pick your favorite out of those 2, or you have to pick the better dunk out of those 2. I think ultimately, you still have debate. You will ultimately always have debate on, why someone picked one dunk over another dunk, but it'd be more clear. It'd be clearly Dwayne Wade picked Derek Jones Jr. to dunk over Aaron Gordon, as opposed to this who should have scored a 10 and, scored a 9, there was a plan, all that sort of stuff out the window. It should just simply be, what is your preferred dunk in that round? And then it's just best of 3. I think it's pretty clear. Look, I agree. Aaron Gordon got robbed for me. Take nothing away from Derek Jones Jr. It was as impressive as 2016 for me. It's just unfortunate that Aaron Gordon was the one to miss out twice. And I think they'll probably tweak the scoring system next year so that we don't just get dunks after dunks after dunks. Even though it's fun, there will always be someone that misses out that's a bit stiff. And I think this year it probably shouldn't have been Aaron Gordon. It should have been wrapped up a little bit sooner than that, even though he dunked over someone who's 7'5". The 3-point contest skills challenge. Alex, any commentary on that? You surprised that Domas went to the final?
No, not at all. I think big men typically do pretty well in that tournament the last couple of seasons. So, but I think they need to change the skills contest, because obviously we love to see Domas succeed, but that was just, honestly, it's just boring. Like, it's the same course and it lasts about 20 seconds. So I think they've got to do something to change it, make it a little more exciting, because, if Domas wasn't in it, there's no chance I would watch that. It's just, for me, it's just dull. And even the 3-point contest, I think it was pretty exciting. But, I don't know. I just think, apart from the dunk contest Saturday for All-Star Weekend, it's just a bit boring for me.
Let's bring in Horse. Let's just bring in Horse.
I want to see a 1v1 tournament. Yeah.
Or a 1-on-1. Yeah, absolutely. Why not replace the skills challenge with 1-on-1?
That'll never happen, though. You can't see LeBron doing a 1-on-1 challenge. You imagine the internet hate he would get, let's just say, if he lost in the first round to Jimmy Butler or something like that. It's just there's no, I guess, positive for the players unless you win it, So I don't think they'll ever do that, but that's something the fans would love to see.
The NBA is all about clout these days, that's for sure. And one-on-one tournament would destroy everyone except one player's clout, which they wouldn't like too much. Let's get to some questions. We were lucky enough to have quite a few questions for a bit of a mailbag sent out during the week. So thank you once again to everyone who sent us questions. We'll get through as many as we possibly can. I think there are a lot of, obviously, Pacers questions. There are a few questions directed at us as individuals. And I think we'll kick it off with friend of the podcast, Alex Golden. He asked probably the most controversial question of all, which is, which of us is the biggest Pacers fan? And look, for me, as I said on Twitter, I think it's pretty clear. Justin, you went over, you were part of Area 55. You sacrificed 6 months of your professional life to go over and follow Indiana Pacers basketball. So even though I'm a massive fan, I'm happy to secede this point to yourself.
Oh, that's very nice of you. But look, it's I don't really care who's the biggest fan. I think we all love Pacers. We all do a podcast in our own time, and it is what it is. Just because I had the opportunity to do that, and I was in Roy Hibbert's fan section, doesn't mean I'm a bigger fan than anyone. But look, I think all three of us have got together, and we all know we love the Pacers more than probably anyone in Australia, at least. So it's great sharing the podcast with you too.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, as you said, the amount of time that's put in, and probably out of the three of us, no one puts in more time than yourself, Alex, on creating Pacers content and graphics and videos, etc. That the players eat that stuff up. They love the content that you put out. So what? I guess a question. Oh well, no, Twitter doesn't love it at the moment. Free AK, hashtag free AK. So to bring Alex's question to the next level, what makes you devote so much of your time to Pacers content, and why do you love this club so much?
Is that for me or?
Yeah, that's for you.
Man, you know what? I think for me, I started being a Pacers fan much later than you guys. It was about 2012, I think. So I've only been a fan for about 8 or so years. But when I went over, and absolutely, like, we just sent them an email saying, we're coming from Australia, like, would we be able to get a birthday message on the board or something? And they went out of their way to not only get me on the court, but I sat courtside for the pre-game warm-ups. They got me on during the timeout, and I probably shouldn't say this, but The old mate announcer actually told me the answer for one of the games during the timeout.
He's just lost his job now, Alex.
Yeah. Sorry about that. No, I'm not going to say his name. Not going to name names, but yeah, just like the way they go out of their way to make international fans in particular feel so at home. I know we've all been to Indiana, so Justin, you can testify. Adam, you can testify to this, but their experiences they make for international fans is just absolutely insane. And I mean, we've all been to multiple NBA arenas, and I think Bankers Life takes the cake for me. It was just an amazing time, and the organization just does an amazing job making fans feel, welcomed, no matter where they're from.
You don't get that at many sporting arenas that I've been to, and I've been a lot all around the States and obviously Australia as well. And it tends to be arenas that are just for one main team. That are housed for one main team. I mean, if anyone out there knows Australian football, I'm a Geelong supporter. So Geelong have their own home ground that's about an hour and a half away from Melbourne, and that's just for the team. It's just for the club. So you go there and it's 90% Geelong fans, and you don't tend to get that a lot in Australia. It's a lot of bigger arenas that are housing both sides, very 50-50 or 60-40 one way. But going over to the States, obviously you're in arenas that are just for that particular team, and none more so, I think, struck me than Bankers Life Fieldhouse. I think it was a really cool experience being able to. I was lucky enough to get my ticket signed by Larry Bird last time I was there. Was in the tunnel for players coming through, just slapping hands and watching warm-ups and that sort of stuff. It was an incredible experience. And Justin, you've got, more stories than most about the hospitality of the Pacers and the greatness that is sort of Bankers Life Fieldhouse and the family of Pacers fans. It's a special place, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And it actually, you two spoke about the organisation. It actually feeds down to the players. My interaction with players, I was actually really nervous going over there and meeting the players. I mean, there's that old saying, you never want to meet your idols, because you don't want to go back and obviously think differently of them, which I didn't to any player. Majority of them were all so nice. Like I've mentioned on the show before, Lance Stevenson, he felt like a buddy of mine at one point. They all loved me because I was from Australia. Obviously, Roy Hibbert went above and beyond of what anyone should do. There's a good story I actually want to tell where the Area 55 tickets were actually just meant for the regular season, and we made the playoffs that year. So we, the fan section, you were meant to actually buy tickets for the playoffs. But Roy Hibbert actually spent $10,000 of his own money so the fans could go to the first round of the playoffs and beyond. Amazing. So it's just incredible. And that's why I love the Pacers. They treat you like royalty if you go over and say you're from Australia. And we've started this podcast up, guys, and I mean, between the three of us, we already know what sort of interaction we've had from people in the front office and players and staff like Jeremiah Johnson. It's just been incredible.
Yeah, it really has. It's a testament to the organization. It's a global franchise, but it's a community club, which I think is a big distinction with the Pacers and other franchises around. We'll get to another question by another favorite of ours, Aris, who asks, hello, mates. I enjoy the use of mate. Who is the one player that you think has perfected their role in this team, whether that be on offense or defense? Good question. We've obviously had a sustained period of success this season, and we've introduced a lot of new players, but who's perfected their role on this team? Alex, I'll start with you for this one.
Can you guess my answer?
Justin Holiday.
Yes, it is Justin Holiday, my man. He is the prototypical 3-and-D man. I absolutely love everything he does. He's shooting like 53 or 54% from three this year, which is absolutely absurd, and he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. So what's he getting paid? About $3 or $4 million. He's an absolute steal. And Pacers Kevin Richard, if you're listening to this, you know what to do, man. You need to re-sign him. Re-sign him to about the 3 or 4 year deal because he is an absolute stud.
I got to agree. I was going to say Justin Holiday. His role is to do whatever the team needs him to do, and he's been able to effectively do that for the entire season. He's always got minutes since early in the season. It's clear that Nate developed a trust in him from the first week of the season back in October, and that trust has sustained whatever role he's asked to do, whether he's asked to guard big or small, play a little bit of stretch four here and there, hit threes from the corner, play strong defense. He does whatever the coach asks him to do, and that's all you can ask from a player of that caliber. And it just speaks to the professionalism and maturity of the player and the man, Justin Holiday. Justin, what about you?
I know you're all probably going to think I'm going to say TJ McConnell, but
I was counting on it.
Nah, look, I got to go with Justin Holiday as well. There's no use me just saying something else for the sake of it. I 100% agree with both of you. He's been one of our, if not best bench players all year. He comes in. I'm not even going to try and speak more highly of him than you just did, Adam, because you articulate things a lot better than I do. So I will leave it at Justin Holiday.
Good question. Thank you, Aris. Okay, we'll go to something that's a little more controversial. So we've got a guy by the name of Goran Dimrotsky. I want to get that right, Goran. Sorry. For the next season, and this is, I think, a really loaded question. For next season, would you rather have a very good coach and no changes to the roster, or another Sabonis level player, but McMillan has to stay? So I guess this speaks to the element of Pacers Twitter that isn't very happy with Nate McMillan's performance, and I can understand where that comes from. The three of us have been Nate fans this season, and we've offered support for the job that he's been able to do across the season, and I don't necessarily think that's going to change with this conversation. So for me, I would prefer another All-Star on the team and for Nate McMillan to continue as coach, because if you're talking about another Sabonis level player, you're talking about an All-Star. So I would prefer an All-Star and to keep Nate McMillan as the coach, because I think he is a good coach. Alex?
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that one. If you get a chance to add an All-Star, no matter what, I think you got to take it. So, but it's tough, man. I think the conversation has to be had. If this team continues to lose in the first round, then you might have to look elsewhere. I know Kevin Pritchard has a pretty close relationship with Nate, so obviously these fire takes are just ridiculous. He's not getting fired anytime soon. But, I think...
and neither he should get fired anytime soon.
Well, that's exactly right, yeah. But, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, Adam. I think if you ever get the chance to add another All-Star to your roster, you have to take it.
Justin, I'm guessing we're probably going to be all in agreement. So if you are in agreement, I'm going to throw a grenade your way. If we were to add an All-Star, which player would we have to subtract from our roster that is getting significant minutes this season to accommodate that All-Star?
Oh, I like it. And yes, I do agree with you two's opinion on the previous question. To me, that's pretty straightforward. But with that grenade you've thrown at me, I hate to say it. But you'd be thinking Miles Turner, wouldn't you? Like with situational guard matchups, and Brogdon, you'd have to keep in our lineup. Oladipo, Sabonis, they're the core of our team. TJ Warren, you're not really saying is at a all-star level yet. So you'd say Miles Turner would kind of be that one. He's always in trade rumors. He's always on the block, apparently, which I don't usually believe. But, there's been some substantial reports in the offseason where other teams think we will move him. So it's going to be very interesting. I personally don't want to see Miles Turner go. I think he does a lot for our team. I think we've got a question coming up about him, so I won't delve into it too much. But, yeah, I'd say if we had to lose one of our starters, you'd kind of have to think Miles might be the one, yeah?
Yeah, I was going to say Jeremy Lamb because I didn't want to say Miles.
To me, Jeremy Lamb's not a starter, though.
But he's not a starter, so it's a tough one. And I think if you're adding an All-Star, then you can't take away your two All-Stars in Sabonis and Oladipo. Brogdon, I think, started the season really well. If his sort of trend continues and he regresses from what he was doing, then maybe that's more of a conversation. And TJ Warren has just been rock solid throughout the season. I can't see how you can part with TJ Warren at this stage. He's been fantastic as a starting small forward. You alluded to a Miles question, and in doing so, forced my hand with the next question I was going to ask. So Thanks for that. From Jordan, why do fans hate Miles so much? Do they realise he's huge to this team? I'm going to throw to the most passionate member of the three of us on this particular issue. The man who, if Twitter hadn't banned him for what they did, they would have banned him for comments relating to Miles Turner haters. Alex, what do you think is the reason that fans hate Miles so much?
Oh man, I think there's a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's always got to be a scapegoat. It seems like every loss they blame on him, and when we win, he gets no credit. So him and Nate McMillan are the two biggest scapegoats on the Pacers this year, which is kind of odd, but it always has to be someone, doesn't it? I think with Miles, the biggest thing is his rebounding, which I think is arguably one of the most overrated stats in all of basketball, considering that he's primarily a shot blocker, and we have Sabonis who averages about 13 rebounds a game, but I don't know, man. I truly cannot answer that question. I know this season more than ever. I was talking to Justin about this the other day. I cannot understand why this season more than ever it's just switched. It was only a few people last year that were on Miles' back, but this season it just seems like 50% of the people just flipped. They just turned on him. So honestly, I cannot even answer that question. It doesn't make any sense to me. Box score bandits, maybe that's what it is. But maybe you guys have a better answer than me. I truly don't know.
Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, we did speak about it the other night, Alex, and it was just good talking to you because last year he wasn't hated at all. You know, he was an up-and-coming player, and he's actually played better this season than he did last season, in my opinion. So I think the main thing, like you mentioned a lot there, Alex, I think the main thing is a scapegoat. I think a lot of fans always have that one player on the team where they think they should be better than they actually are, or, you know, their output's not good enough. So I think in the years of being a Pacer fan, there's always that one player that the fan base generally doesn't like. So for whatever reason, Miles has got that tag now, which is disappointing because, you know, Alex, you know, he's a really nice guy. He's helped you out with a few things. And, for me, it's the same as Roy Hibbert 2.0. Nicest guy in the world, did a lot for our team. You know, LeBron said he was, you know, very hard to go to the rim against. And for some reason, everyone just hated on Roy Hibbert.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of box score bandit stuff floated around, and I tend to agree with that. I tend to think that a lot of basketball fans equate a big man's success with their rebounding numbers, and because Miles has never been an elite rebounder that would get the 12, 13, 14 rebounds in a game, I think a lot of people tend to put that down to softness and tend to equate a lack of rebounds with the softness, which I don't think is the case. I think they ignore the defensive side of the ball and more focus on the rebounding. And Alex, I think you hit the nail on the head with there needs to be a scapegoat. People aren't going to use Oladipo as a scapegoat. Brogdon's got the new car smell. Warren's been dependable. Sabonis is an all-star. So who's your scapegoat? The coach and Miles Turner, which is unfortunate. I also think that, not necessarily Miles' fault, but he didn't have a great World Cup, which exposed him a lot to the national audience. And I think people equate a few of the players that were on that team with the failure of that team. And I think Miles, unfortunately, is caught up in that. I don't think other players have necessarily been tarred with the same brushes as Miles has, but you know, we did get dominated by bigs in that World Cup because we had Brook Lopez who barely played, and Miles was sort of carrying the load there, which I don't necessarily think was the best spot to put him in. He's not a tough physical rebounding center. He is a elite athletic shot blocking, shot making center, which, you know, you've got to put him in a place to succeed. I don't necessarily think Team USA did that with the personnel they had. And I think that may have carried over a little bit to having to play beside Domas and learn a new role. And, I have my reservations over making a choice that involves Sabonis over Miles. I don't necessarily support that. I don't want to make that choice, nor am I really sure on what choice I would make if I had to make one. But right now, I think you have to play the season out. You have to play the playoffs. And you have to see if this team can make some noise and do better than its first round sweep exit last season. Because if it can, then I think there's an argument to be made to keep these two big men together. You also need to consider the fact that you've got them both locked up. So you've got 3 years left on Miles's deal from next year onwards. Is he willing to take a different role? Is he willing to be that first man off the bench? And can we get a forward that will enable us to leverage off Sabonis as a starting center and bring Miles off the bench and play him and Domas a little less together and have him run with the second unit? These are all questions I'm sure the team will ask itself if the season is deemed to be a failure, but there's a long way to go yet. So, and I'm squarely on the Miles train for the rest of the season. I think he'll bounce back, and I think he'll continue to be great. All right, I think we've got time for one more question, maybe two more. We'll see how we go. Here's another controversial topic from Justin's burner account. This is from Sco Reagan. Honest and actual opinions on Aaron Holiday and his future with the team. I will start this off with a very simple analogy. I think a choice has to be made at the end of this season, and the choice isn't necessarily what you think it is. I think it's between Aaron Holiday and Jeremy Lamb. I think you can only keep one. I think one of them is going to provide scoring off the bench. I think you can't necessarily have both in your side for the makeup of your team off the bench. So you're going to have to choose one, and you're going to have to try and get something of value back for the other. Justin, you've shared some strong Aaron Holiday opinions this year, and rightly so earlier in the season. What are your honest and actual opinions on him?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a rollercoaster season for him, hasn't he? Obviously, he started the season terribly. Couldn't hit a shot to save his life. And then he got that real hot streak where he was hitting clutch shots. And my phone was blowing up at all hours of the night saying how good he was. And now he's obviously plateaued again where he's been, struggling to get in the lineup when he's been in there. Nate McMillan's pulled him for getting, silly tech fouls or talking trash to Donovan Mitchell where he shouldn't be when we're down 30. It's funny, right? Doing this Q&A, I thought we'd all have different opinions, but every single question and answer you guys have said, I actually personally agree with. And I think you're right, Adam. The decision has to be made. I think he might look for a different avenue at the end of the year. That's just my personal opinion with no fact or knowledge. But I think he won't be a member of the Pacers next year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I think it's
Wow.
low. I think Sumner's gone. I think Sumner and Leaf are both gone next season.
Oh, yeah, I think, TJ Leaf's definitely gone, but I think Aaron
just
Holiday, he's not going to think he's the third string. He probably thinks he's a starter in this league, which I don't believe, but I think he's a good backup, and that's all he'll ever be to me. But, I just think he might want a new scenery.
Well, we don't even know. Well, the thing is, with McConnell on a 1-year deal, he could be gone next season, so... I just
exactly
think,
right. Well, did you see if we didn't get TJ McConnell, we were actually going to get JJ Barea?
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yes, J. Michael of the Indy Star said that last week.
Very interesting.
I just think with Sumner, though, at that fourth option right now, he's not getting any minutes whatsoever. So, I think him, Mark Monteith, I believe it was, mentioned it when we interviewed him. These guys are going to want minutes somewhere else if they're not getting it in Indy. So, I think Holiday will be the backup point guard next year, and maybe Sumner and Leaf are on the block.
You saying White Iverson's gone?
Yeah, I'm saying he's gone, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Alex there. White Iverson's days are numbered. Sorry, Justin.
Well,
we can enjoy him for one season.
Yeah, get as much mixtapes as you can out this season, Alex.
No more mixtapes, Alex. We want to keep you on Twitter.
Yeah, sorry, I'm banned, boys. Banned from work. It was the White Iverson one they took down. So there you go. They weren't having any of it.
That one went worldwide.
We'll throw in one final question. We'll we had a few questions about the opportunities for the team and what we need to do in the second half of the season or playoff matchups. I like the phrasing of this one. What do you guys think the Pacers need to really work on to be a serious contender to come out of the East? That's from Joel Allen. And Alex, I'll start with you. What do we need to work on?
Perimeter defense is number one. We get absolutely destroyed on the perimeter every single game. Teams chuck up 30, 43s on us every night. And if we match up against the Celtics or the Raptors, they're just going to fire it away. And we don't have any answers. You know, we're not a team that shoots a lot of threes. So if we're getting 30 or 40 put up against us every night from perimeter, I just don't see how we can win that matchup. That's why I would argue Philly is probably the one team. I know Embiid has Turner's number, but I think Philly just don't have much. They don't have any perimeter threats really. So if we match up against that team, I think we'll be all right. But yeah, perimeter defense is just. I mean, this past month it's been absolutely terrible.
Justin, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree on that, but I got a different take. I think in NFL they call it the 2-minute drill, and that is basically when a game is close, you play out that situation and what you need to do, where everyone needs to be, and how you're going to win that game. And I think that's what the Pacers need to do. The amount of games in the last week we've given up has been ridiculous. I'm still not over that Toronto loss. Obviously, that Brooklyn loss. Understand the team's still gelling and everything like that, getting everyone on court, but that's what I think we need, right, to get to the next level. The playoffs it's a different ballgame in the playoffs. We're going to have to come through with clutch shots and know where everyone's going to be. If we're going to play the last 2 minutes of that Toronto game in the playoffs, then we may as well just get swept again. So we need Oladipo hitting big shots, but not only that, Brogdon's got to come through in the clutch. He's got to start making his free throws again. And, Domas and Miles has to be ready to make the big shot as well. So I think for us to get past the first round, which we all want this season, is we have to come through in the clutch.
Yeah, for me, the wider point for me, just to build off that, is offensive execution. I think since Vic's come back, we spoke about it last episode, the offense has looked stagnant. It's looked a little bored and unimaginative. There've been, poor shots early in the shot clock. There've been a lot of pull-up threes contested. There've, been a lot of blocked layups. So, we're not getting to the rim with any authority and not really sort of getting the defense off balance to be able to get to the rim. So that to me just says that the team needs to gel. There needs to be, not necessarily different play calls, but we need to get to a place where the team is fully comfortable with each other. They know each other's tendencies, with Victor in there as well. And I think the offensive execution of this team will determine how far it goes. If we become even a passable offensive team over the next couple of months, then I think we'll see some success in the playoffs, and I think we can knock off a big fish in the first round. That's for sure. I'd love that to be Miami, but as a bonus for the listeners. But yeah, if we can score buckets down the stretch in particular, but show a lot more confidence on offensive execution, then I think we'll be fine. That about wraps it up for us. That's our mailbag done and dusted for this All-Star break. Once again, thank you to everyone who sent questions through. We've got a game, I think, Saturday or Sunday our time, Saturday American time. Our first game back from the break is in Madison Square Garden. Guys, just quickly, do you think we can get a win first game back? Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to say we're going to go 1-1 in these next two. I think the Raptors game, just get that season series over and done with. I don't see us pulling that one out. Justin talked about that game in Toronto. Just get it over and done with. Put us out of the misery. But yeah, you've got to take that W in New York. Hopefully we build some momentum coming out of the All-Star break.
Justin?
Yeah, I want to see what I requested the game against Pelicans, which they didn't do, but then did it against the Bucks. I messaged you guys 2 minutes into that Bucks game and said, man, the Pacers look on. Energy-wise, they look great. That's what I want to see. Win and loss, let's hope they win. But energy-wise, I want to see them pissed off after the All-Star break for giving up so many games. And, this is go time for the season.
Definitely. I agree. I actually think that it's a really good opportunity post All-Star break to come out and smack Toronto in the mouth. We won the first game of the season series and lost the next two, so we've got a chance to tie the season series, which I think would be a really good result against a team that we could be fighting for position with come the end of the season, depending on how things shake out. So I see that as even more important than the Knicks game. I think if we had a disappointing loss against the Knicks but still beat Toronto, I'd be still pretty satisfied with that as a result, just for what it means at the end of the season more than anything else. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a big first few games back. We'll be looking for that aggressiveness and that real drive and confidence in execution, and hopefully we can string together a few wins on the trot and head into the playoffs with some momentum. But we will speak to you sometime in the next week. We thank you so much for your questions and for your continuing listenership, and we've been the Paceroos. We'll speak to you again soon.